For me, this painting really dispels the myth about artists working in vacuums. I feel like Jessica Dismorr is really inspired by the sculptors working around her during this period, and it's a very sculptural painting. It was painted in 1934, and around that time she was exhibiting with artists like Henry Moore and Barbara Hepworth with the London group. And you can just feel her assimilating the ways in which they deal with volume and space within the painting. I feel like she's really bringing that on and taking it in her work, especially in the ways in which these large heads take up most of the composition. The date 1934 is also really interesting because this makes it one of the last figurative paintings that the artist ever explored. In 1934, Unit 1 had an exhibition that many considered to be the first fully abstract exhibition of British artists. Jessica Dismorr went to this exhibition and her work was never the same again. She never worked figuratively, she only worked in the abstract style from this point on. The artist is actually depicting her own sister and her brother-in-law. I don't know if you would immediately interpret that from looking at the painting. It can feel quite sterile in a sense until you really get into the details. This really lovely, beautiful flower here I think is so romantic. The way that she's resting her arm in quite an assuring way on her husband is also just such an intimate insight into their relationship. I've always thought that Dismorr has been quite a regimented artist in working in quite particular styles throughout her career, abandoning one and then taking on a new style. But actually, when you look up to the top corner here, you do get a sense of her very, very early Fauvist landscapes that she was exploring. We've had a couple here at the gallery. These really linear marks in bold colours, I think are just beautiful. The colour palette that she worked in her early career was really inspired by the Fauves, so very bright colours, very linear, whereas this is very, very subdued, the very limited colour palette, I think adds to the romance of the painting. Dismorr was working in this colour palette throughout the 1930s, from just before 1930 until this painting was painted in 1934. She worked only in the abstract style from this point on, and that's why I think this painting is just so special.